Well, what a time to be alive. I am so interested to see what the next 5 years, the next 10 years look like on this planet, because literally every day you wake up is a new day. Indeed, there is something that has happened that you couldn't make up. You couldn't have said Q2 of 2025 is going to look like this. You couldn't have made it up. All them prophets, they couldn't see this one. The small conspiracy lover in me is waiting to hear that this was all part of a big plan, an intentional plan to flip things as we know on its head and reset the world. I'm waiting to hear that there's a corner office within Trump's administration just in charge of, resetting the world. I do think if you are a small business that is actually delivering value in the form of you have a story, you have a journey, you have a mission statements that are actually centered around a community, making a difference genuinely, and it is resonating with an audience and actually making tangible benefits. Okay, this is a great time to have such a business and to market your business, because it's no longer going to be about the exclusivity Chanel and Louis or Valentino offer. It's about offering value and uniqueness, and where value and uniqueness is going to come from is being redefined. The reason why people wanted to be associated with designers was because of the thought, you are getting exclusivity, you're getting high-end craftsmanship, and that all has been taken back. That's not true anymore. In fact, you are getting high quality craftsmanship. It's just not sitting in Europe, it's sitting in China, it's sitting in Asia, and where it's been sitting also is Africa. But for some reason we don't market ourselves, we don't package ourselves in a way that the world can easily access. And I think that is definitely by design. I mean, I saw a post that mentioned or that commented on the fact that it's easier to fly from Africa to Europe to other continents, and it's cheaper to fly to other continents from Africa, but it is so expensive to fly within the continent from one African country to another, because they've made it's by design. I think for these luxury brands, it got messy when, one, they became political, and two, their target audience became younger, Gen Z, and they started creating mini versions of every product available in their shop. What that said is they're trying to reach more and more people, and the more you aim to make your product available to the masses, there is no way you can talk to me about handmade craftsmanship. It's just unrealistic to say you're going to maintain that level of quality and attention to detail and still serve the entire world. And I think this should speak to you as well if you're a small business owner and your ambition is for your brand to be known and to grow. There is scaling and then there is scaling. If your ambition is to supply the entire world and you still hope that your team will remain on ground and your team will remain local people and your production and shipping processes will be a handmade or a hand manually managed process, I think it's unrealistic until the AI tools or the machines that are functioning in China are sitting in your country, on your continent in Africa. It will be, I think it's unrealistic. Honestly, I think if you are a business owner right now and your focus is luxury, not volume, you cannot have luxury and volume. I think this is why, China's helped us to now realize, but for a long time we didn't ask the questions, but how do you have luxury and you also have volume? It's just not possible. When they announced that the owner of LVMH was now the richest in the world, and it's like, but how? Because people buying luxury, it has reduced, it's going down, which means the sources of money for that group is not in you and I buying a product, or at least it's not in that alone. I think what it is for me is all the materialisticness that the world is entangled in has funded their building of wealth. They've taken the money from you and I, you purchasing a product from their brand, and they've taken that money and bought an asset and bought perhaps a patent and bought or set up franchises. This is for me where the divide is going to maintain, because whether or not you buy, they've been investing, they have been diversifying their portfolio, so it doesn't matter to an extent. This is to say, for the established brands, one, diversify your portfolio. Easier said than done, but still very important. Make sure you have ways of making money that is beyond just one source or two sources, and they should ideally not be related. Two, if you are a business owner, if you're producing goods, if you're offering a service, okay, perfecting the audience that you have the attention of right now is the focus. And when you are scaling, let it be organic, or if you are injecting cash or time in order to scale, have a plan that will look into how are you going to maintain quality and how are you going to maintain consistency. Because when you start to focus on volume, quality often goes down, and often you have to cut corners in order to meet demand. And for the luxury brands, the corners that were cut were letting go of the French or Italian artisans and going to China. And now the artisans that have experience are sitting in China. All the skills, the craftsmanship that we have become accustomed to, the high quality that we like, is actually sitting in China. And a few brands in Africa that know what they're doing are in Africa, and they're producing from Africa and sourcing from Africa. For me personally, my aim is to own as little as possible. I know right now we've gotten so used to next day delivery, but this whole thing has also opened up you accepting to wait for the thing to come and ordering from further away rather than a warehouse within your area. But this is also, for some people, certainly for me, making me review, what do I own? Do I need it? What purpose is it serving? And is it of optimum quality? Because this is also redefining what is a luxury. What does luxury mean? What does a luxurious life mean? And what this is showing is, for me anyway, true value, true freedom, true wealth is no longer tied to the thing I have and the value of that thing. For somebody like me who loves traveling, my time and my location is my luxury. And life is changing from materialism. We are shifting from materialism. For a lot of people, we're in different stages on that spectrum, but this is forcing us to shift from materialism to redefining what your luxury is. And it's definitely not going to be universal. I think also for me, walking around with an item that you can't quite figure out what brand it is, that for me is where I would pay top dollar for. That is the exclusivity, that is the uniqueness I look for, you know, rather than looking like I'm in a uniform with everyone else, and a uniform that is poor quality plastic at that, with no story and with no depth to the journey of that garment or item. I know a lot of Africa, much of African communities are built on or based on materialism, if we want to be honest. I do think that this is a chapter for everyone to review what actually is value, what is true value. And the younger generation have already been onto this, and they have started focusing on supporting each other and promoting locally sourced and locally made, or building from a community, if you're providing a service, not a product, a community that is close to home and closely knit. I just hope we're not the last ones to catch on wherever this takes us, because I think we can be at the top of the food chain if we decide to be less reactive, if we are a step ahead and consistent. So for Africans in Africa, in this picture right now, I hope that, you know, one, we don't become a dumping ground and we don't become consumers, solely consumers. I hope that we start to pay attention and wake up to the raw materials we have, and thinking about what can we do with those raw materials instead of letting the world well, we have enabled them to loot and then sell it back to us packaged. But what can we do to change that in such a time as this? Because an opportunity is really opening up. I'm going to pause here. Thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll see you in my next video. Stay safe in the meantime.